Hello, friends. How long could you survive without food or water? A day? Maybe a week? What if some creatures on this planet can go without it for months, even years? From the burning deserts to the frozen edges of the earth, nature has built survivors that break every rule we thought we knew about life. Animals that slow their heartbeat to almost nothing, store water inside their bodies like living canteens, or bury themselves in silence, waiting for the world to wake up again. While they don't eat, don't drink, and yet they live on. You think you know what true endurance looks like? Wait until you meet these champions of survival. The animal kingdom is full of survivors with abilities that challenge everything we know about life itself. Some creatures can go days without food or water, others last for weeks, and a few can endure months or even years without a single sip or bite. They slow their hearts, lower their energy use, store water inside their bodies, and wait patiently while time passes by. These animals have evolved tricks that make them champions of endurance, living proof that survival isn't about strength alone, but about adapting in ways we can barely imagine. In this video, we'll meet the creatures that turn hunger and thirst into nothing more than a test they were born to win. When we think of survival, we picture strength, speed, or sharp claws. But the real masters of endurance win by doing the opposite. These animals slow down, shut off, or store what little they have to outlast nature's harshest challenges. From deserts with no rain for months to frozen wastelands where food vanishes, they've evolved secrets that let them go without eating or drinking for unimaginable lengths of time. In this story, we'll meet creatures that bend the rules of biology itself. Camels that can turn fat into water, snails that sleep for years, crocodiles, and snakes that can feast once and vanish into stillness for months. Bears that live half a year on nothing but stored energy, and even tiny beings that can survive droughts like living time capsules. Each one tells a part of the same story, that survival isn't just about what you have, but how you use it when the world gives you nothing. Have you ever imagined escaping death not by running or fighting, but by tricking your enemy into believing you're something far more dangerous than you really are? Many butterflies have mastered this art of deception, turning their delicate, colorful wings into shields of illusion that keep predators away. To a bird or lizard, a butterfly might seem like an easy meal, fragile and defenseless, but what they see isn't always what they think. Certain butterfly species have large eye-like patterns on their wings, known as false eyes, that make them look like much bigger, more threatening creatures. When danger approaches, the butterfly suddenly flashes these giant eye spots by spreading its wings wide, creating the terrifying illusion that the predator is staring into the gaze of an owl, a snake, or another powerful hunter. In an instant, the attacker hesitates, startled and confused, giving the butterfly the perfect chance to escape unharmed. But the tricks don't stop there. Some butterflies take camouflage to the next level, folding their wings to resemble dried leaves, bark, or even bird droppings, becoming practically invisible when they rest. Predators scanning for food see nothing but debris or waste, never realizing a living meal is right in front of them. Other species mimic the colors and patterns of poisonous butterflies, despite being harmless themselves. Birds that have tasted or witnessed the real toxic version learn to avoid that pattern for life, sparing the mimic species without them ever having to fight or flee. Scientists call this Batesian mimicry, an evolutionary masterpiece where survival is built on reputation and trickery rather than strength. In tropical rainforests, butterfly deception becomes a full show. Some species flip their wings to alternate between camouflage and warning patterns in a split second, dazzling predators and creating a confusing visual storm that makes it almost impossible to follow their movements. Every false eye, every fake wing pattern, every leaf-like disguise is part of a long evolutionary game of outsmarting hunters, turning vulnerability into an advantage. These insects survive not because they're fast or strong, but because they've learned how to control what predators believe, rewriting the story of life and death with a simple, perfect lie painted on their wings. Watching a butterfly escape danger this way is like seeing nature's own sleight of hand, a silent, breathtaking trick that leaves even the fiercest hunters second-guessing what's real and what's an illusion. What would you do if every predator that tried to eat you regretted it instantly? The bombardier beetle has mastered one of the most shocking and clever survival tricks in the insect world, turning its own body into a living chemical weapon that sends attackers running in pain and confusion. This small, unassuming beetle doesn't look dangerous, but hidden inside its abdomen are two chemical chambers filled with harmless liquids. When threatened by frogs, spiders, lizards, or even curious mammals, the beetle mixes these chemicals in a special reaction chamber, creating an explosive, boiling spray of toxic, foul-smelling gas. With perfect aim, it blasts this hot, corrosive liquid directly at its enemy, causing instant burning sensations and driving predators away before they can take another bite. The spray is powerful enough to deter animals much larger than the beetle itself and can even kill small attackers outright. Scientists have studied this incredible defense and found that the beetle's system functions like a miniature chemical cannon, complete with a safety valve, mixing chamber, and directional nozzle. It can fire multiple bursts in rapid succession, aiming with astonishing precision, hitting enemies directly in the eyes or mouth to make sure they never try again. What makes this strategy so brilliant is how it changes the rules of survival for such a tiny creature. Most insects rely on hiding or running when danger comes, but the bombardier beetle fights with deception and shock, making predators believe they've bitten into something toxic and deadly. Many predators learn after just one encounter to avoid these beetles entirely, remembering the awful experience and giving the species a reputation that protects even those that never had to fire a shot. In nature, where being small usually means being eaten, this beetle has flipped the balance of power by using chemistry as a weapon of fear. It doesn't have claws, venom fangs, or wings to escape danger fast, but it has a mind-bending trick that keeps it alive, turning its own body into a bomb that says to the entire food chain, "Try me once and you'll never forget it." Have you ever thought that the best way to survive isn't to fight, flee, or hide, but to become so invisible that predators never realize you're alive at all? That's the secret of the mata-mata turtle, a creature that looks less like an animal and more like a piece of the swamp itself. Found in the slow-moving rivers and marshes of South America, this turtle has turned camouflage into a full-body masterpiece, making it one of the most deceptive reptiles in the world. At first glance, a mata-mata turtle doesn't resemble a turtle at all. Its flat, triangular head is covered in flaps of rough, knobby skin, Its long neck looks like a twisted branch, and its brown, jagged shell is shaped like a rotting leaf floating on water. Algae often grows on its back, blending it even further into the murky environment. To any predator swimming by, it's just another piece of debris, not worth a second glance. But this disguise isn't just for hiding, it's also a deadly hunting strategy. Mata-matas are ambush predators that use patience as their greatest weapon. They stay perfectly still for hours, waiting for unsuspecting fish or amphibians to come close, believing the leaf nearby is harmless. In a split second, the turtle stretches its long neck, opens its wide, vacuum-like mouth, and sucks in its prey with incredible force, swallowing it whole before the victim realizes what happened. Scientists have studied mata-matas and discovered that their entire body design is specialized for this trickery. Their flat heads reduce water disturbance when they strike, and their camouflage is so effective that even experienced divers have mistaken them for dead vegetation. Predators often swim past without noticing them, and prey have no chance of escape until it's too late. This dual use of deception, fooling both enemies and victims, makes the mata-mata turtle a true master of survival without speed, strength, or armor. In nature, where countless creatures rely on brute force or quick reflexes, this turtle has chosen a different path. It becomes part of the environment itself, untouchable and overlooked, turning invisibility into its ultimate defense. Watching a mata-mata turtle in its natural habitat is like looking at a swamp floor come to life, a living ghost of the water, proving that in the wild, sometimes the smartest way to survive is to make the world forget you're even there. What would you do if your only hope of survival was to convince a predator that you were already dead, poisonous, and not worth eating? The hognose snake has turned this bizarre idea into an art form, performing one of nature's most convincing death scenes whenever danger gets too close. At first, this snake tries to avoid a fight by flattening its neck like a miniature cobra, hissing loudly and striking without biting. A bluff meant to scare predators into leaving. But if that act doesn't work, it takes things to a whole new level. The hognose snake suddenly flips onto its back, its mouth opens wide, tongue lolls out, its body goes limp, and to complete the illusion, it releases a foul, rotten smell from its glands, making predators believe it's not just dead, but decaying and unsafe to eat. Even the most determined hunters, from birds to mammals, usually recoil and walk away, convinced the snake is already a toxic, spoiled meal. Scientists have observed hognose snakes repeating this act over and over if a predator tries to check whether it's real, sometimes twisting into unnatural positions, belly up, jaw gaping, like a professional actor refusing to break character. What's fascinating is that this isn't blind instinct. The snake seems to judge the situation carefully, choosing bluff strikes first, then faking death only as a last resort, saving its most dramatic trick for when nothing else works. And when the danger is gone, the performance ends instantly. The snake flips over, closes its mouth, and slithers away as if nothing happened, ready to live another day. This act has fooled countless predators for millions of years, proving that survival isn't always about being the strongest or fastest hunter. Sometimes it belongs to the one who can sell the best lie, a lie so convincing that even nature's top killers hesitate, confused, giving just enough time for escape. The hognose snake shows us that in the wild, the smartest survivor is often not the one who fights the hardest, but the one who knows how to make its enemies believe the fight is already over. Mom, what if the deadliest hunter in your backyard could sit in silence for half a year, waiting for one single meal to appear? Spiders, especially tarantulas and other ambush hunters, are masters of endurance, able to survive months without food or water, relying only on the perfection of their patience and biology. These eight-legged predators are built for scarcity. When prey vanishes or the seasons turn harsh, their metabolism slows to an almost frozen state, every heartbeat and breath stretched as far as nature allows. Some species have been observed going 6 months or more without a meal, sitting perfectly still in their webs or hiding in burrows, conserving energy in a way that seems impossible for a living creature. Scientists studying tarantulas in captivity have recorded cases where they were fed just a few times a year, yet they remained healthy, active, and ready to strike whenever food returned. The secret lies in their cold-blooded efficiency. They don't burn energy to stay warm like mammals do, and their bodies are designed to extract every drop of nutrition from each hunt. A single insect or small rodent can fuel a spider for weeks or months, its internal systems working slowly but relentlessly to make sure nothing is wasted. Even water isn't always necessary. Many spiders get hydration from their prey, allowing them to survive long, dry periods in deserts or sealed-off burrows underground. Their survival strategy isn't frantic searching, it's absolute stillness. They wait, traps set, sensing the tiniest vibration in the air or on a strand of silk, ready to strike when opportunity finally crawls by. This ability to endure famine makes spiders some of the most resilient predators on the planet. Imagine sitting in the dark for half a year, moving only when the promise of life walks past you, and yet staying strong, fast, deadly. That's the spider's way. A silent master of patience, proving that in nature, survival doesn't always belong to the biggest or loudest hunter, but to the one who can wait longer than the rest of the land. You probably think of snails as fragile, slow creatures that wouldn't last a day without water or food, but the truth is shocking. Some species can survive years, even decades, without eating or drinking a drop, all thanks to one of nature's most extreme survival mechanisms. Certain giant African land snails can endure droughts and harsh environments by entering a state called estivation, a kind of biological pause button where their entire metabolism almost shuts down. When conditions turn deadly, no rain, no plants to eat, blistering sun, these snails retreat into their shells, sealing themselves off with a layer of hardened mucus, like building a protective door. Inside, their heartbeat slows, their breathing nearly stops, and they survive on the tiniest traces of energy stored in their bodies, losing almost no water for months or even years. In some recorded cases, snails have been packed away, forgotten in shipping containers or storage for over 5 years, only to wake up alive when moisture returned, crawling out as if nothing had happened. This isn't luck, it's evolution's ultimate endurance trick. A snail can regulate its internal chemistry to avoid damage from dehydration, recycling fluids inside its tiny body and keeping its organs alive on what would be nothing for other creatures. Even their shells tell a story of survival, layers hardened to trap every bit of humidity, turning their own home into a life capsule against death. Scientists believe this ability evolved to survive long African dry seasons, where rain might not fall for years. And when the first drops finally return, the snail simply breaks its seal, stretches out, and resumes life as if time never passed. Imagine not eating or drinking for a decade and waking up ready to go. For these snails, it's reality. This extreme adaptation shows that survival isn't just about finding food or water. It's about mastering the art of waiting, of making a single meal last forever, of keeping life on hold until the world is ready to welcome it back. These tiny creatures prove that endurance doesn't always roar. Sometimes it moves slowly, hides away, and outlasts even time itself. Could you imagine surviving months on end without a single sip of water, without a single bite of food, simply by turning your own body into a living reservoir? The desert tortoise does exactly that, making it one of nature's most incredible endurance champions. Life in arid wastelands is unforgiving. Rain may not fall for months, plants wither, streams dry up, and the sun scorches everything in sight. While other animals wander desperately in search of water, the tortoise relies on its secret weapon, the ability to store life inside itself. Desert tortoises have evolved specialized bladders capable of holding large amounts of water for extended periods, sometimes for an entire year. They don't waste a drop. Every bit of liquid they drink or gather from succulent plants is stored safely, ready to be reused again and again. Their bodies are masters of recycling. Even waste products are reabsorbed for hydration, a trick few creatures can perform without poisoning themselves. When drought strikes, the tortoise doesn't panic or flee. It simply retreats into its burrow, slows its heart, lowers its energy use, and survives on the bare minimum. Its thick shell and skin prevent water loss, while its ability to tolerate high levels of toxins in the blood allows it to endure what would kill most other animals. These reptiles can go months without eating, using fat reserves in their bodies and feeding on whatever sparse vegetation appears after rare rainfalls. In fact, scientists have documented cases where tortoises survived nearly an entire year without direct access to water, relying solely on stored reserves and occasional dew. Even their behavior is designed to stretch survival. They dig underground to escape extreme heat, remaining hidden and inactive to avoid burning precious energy. When the rain finally comes, tortoises emerge from their burrows and drink enormous amounts of water refilling their reserves for the next long, dry stretch, sometimes storing enough to last many seasons. This slow, deliberate lifestyle allows them to live for decades, some even surpassing a century, turning patience and efficiency into an unbeatable survival strategy. In the harsh desert, where life clings to existence and mistakes mean death, the tortoise doesn't just endure, it masters time, carrying its own supply of life inside its body, waiting calmly for the world to give it another chance. It's a reminder that true strength isn't always speed or aggression. Sometimes it's the quiet, relentless ability to last when everything else fades away. Ever wondered what it feels like to eat once and not feel hunger for an entire year? Some snakes can do exactly that, turning one massive meal into a ticket for months of survival, making them masters of patience and endurance in the animal kingdom. Pythons and rattlesnakes are the best examples of this incredible ability. Unlike most animals that must eat daily or weekly to stay alive, these snakes can feast on a large prey item, a deer, a pig, or even something as big as themselves, and then vanish into hiding for months, sometimes nearly a full year, without touching another bite. Their bodies are designed to make every ounce of food count. After swallowing prey whole, they can expand their stomach and produce a flood of digestive enzymes so powerful that bones, fur, and organs are completely dissolved. Once the meal is processed, their metabolism slows dramatically, sometimes dropping by more than 70%, conserving energy like no mammal can. Even their internal organs change. Their heart and digestive system shrink after feeding, reducing energy use, and then expand again when the next meal comes, like a biological switch that saves life in times of scarcity. Snakes can live in harsh environments where food is rare because they are prepared to wait, hiding in burrows, under rocks, or coiled on a tree branch. For months, barely moving, heart beating slowly, living off stored energy. Scientists have observed large snakes surviving over 10 months in the wild after a single successful hunt, their bodies perfectly adapted to long periods of fasting without losing strength or hunting skills. This isn't just hunger tolerance. It's a survival strategy millions of years in the making, allowing snakes to thrive in deserts, jungles, and swamps, where prey can disappear for seasons. Unlike predators that burn energy constantly chasing food, snakes strike only when the reward is big enough to last, then become shadows, silent and still, turning patience into power. In nature, where every mistake can mean death, snakes have learned one truth: few animals can match. Survival isn't about eating often, it's about eating smart, once, and making it last longer than anyone would think possible. The emperor penguin might look like a symbol of endurance simply for surviving the brutal Antarctic winter, but its real feat goes far beyond icy winds and frozen oceans. These birds can endure up to 4 long months without a single bite of food or drop of water, standing in temperatures that can plunge below 60 degrees, carrying the future of their species on their feet. When the female lays her single egg, she leaves for the distant ocean to feed, and the male takes on the ultimate test of survival. He balances the fragile egg on his feet, tucking it under a warm flap of skin, and then he waits. For over 120 days, he doesn't eat, doesn't drink, barely moves, surviving entirely on the fat stored in his body before the long vigil begins. The Antarctic storms whip around him at hurricane force. The cold cuts like knives, and still he stands, huddling with thousands of other males in tightly packed circles, taking turns in the center to share the little warmth their bodies produce. Scientists have measured that emperor penguins lose almost half their body weight during this fast, yet their bodies are miracles of conservation. Slowing metabolism, recycling water from fat breakdown, and using every last calorie for survival and for keeping their chick alive. They don't hunt, they don't search for water, they simply endure, day after endless day, in one of the most hostile places on the planet. When the females finally return, fat from weeks of feeding at sea, the males have gone without food for up to 4 months, often over 100 days in the worst conditions, and many have not taken a sip of water during that entire time. Some collapse as soon as their duty is over, completely drained, while others immediately march toward the ocean to refill their empty reserves. This staggering display of endurance isn't just about individual survival. It's about absolute devotion to the next generation, a sacrifice unmatched in the animal kingdom. Every year, emperor penguins prove that true strength isn't only in power or speed. Sometimes it's the ability to stand still, resist hunger, thirst, and unimaginable cold, and not give up until the job is done. These birds live on the very edge of what life can endure, surviving where almost nothing else can, turning every breath, every heartbeat, into an act of willpower against nature's most brutal test. What if you could transform your entire body in the blink of an eye, becoming invisible to enemies, or even turning into something far more terrifying than yourself? For the octopus, this isn't science fiction. It's an everyday survival strategy, perfected over millions of years. Living in oceans full of predators like sharks, moray eels, and barracudas, the octopus relies on intelligence and trickery to stay alive. Its skin is packed with millions of specialized cells called chromatophores and papillae that can instantly change color, pattern, and even texture, allowing it to disappear against rocks, sand, or coral reefs. One moment it's a moving shadow on the ocean floor, the next it's a lump of algae swaying with the current, completely fooling predators. Some octopus species take deception even further, mimicking deadly sea creatures to scare off attackers, spreading arms to imitate venomous lionfish, flattening its body to look like a poisonous flatfish, or slithering in patterns that make it appear as a sea snake, one of the most feared creatures of the ocean. But camouflage is just the first layer of its genius. When discovered, the octopus releases a dark cloud of ink, not just to hide visually, but to overload the predator's sense of smell and taste, creating confusion and buying precious seconds to flee. Their flexible, boneless bodies can squeeze through cracks no bigger than their beak, escaping places where no other animal could follow. They're not just escape artists, they're problem solvers. Scientists have documented octopuses opening jars, unlocking containers, navigating complex mazes, and even playing with objects, showing a level of thinking and memory on par with higher mammals. Some have been seen stacking rocks to block predators from entering their dens, or collecting coconut shells to assemble instant portable shelters. These creatures plan, adapt, and outwit attackers in ways that seem almost human. An octopus doesn't just run from danger, it studies its enemy, creates illusions, manipulates its environment, and vanishes in plain sight. Watching one change shape and color, outmaneuvering larger, faster hunters, feels like witnessing living magic. Except this magic is real, an evolutionary masterpiece of survival intelligence honed over countless generations. In the wild, where speed and brute strength often rule, the octopus proves that the sharpest weapon can be a quick mind and the ability to make predators doubt what they see, hesitate for a second too long, and lose their chance at a kill. Picture this. You're a small, defenseless animal walking through the forest at night when suddenly a predator appears, stronger, faster, and ready to kill. You can't fight, you can't outrun it. So what's left? For the opossum, the answer is one of the wild's boldest, strangest, and most effective tricks, faking its own death so perfectly that even the most determined predator gives up. At first, the opossum doesn't go straight to its final act. It tries to look fierce, baring its teeth, hissing loudly, growling, puffing up its body to seem bigger than it is. Sometimes this bluff works. Predators hesitate, confused by the sudden aggression. But when intimidation fails and danger is seconds away, the opossum launches into one of nature's greatest survival performances. In a flash, its body collapses to the ground, as if life has drained out of it. Its mouth gapes open, tongue hanging out, eyes glazed over or rolled back. It emits a low, eerie groan that sounds like the last breath of a dying creature. And then comes its secret weapon, a pungent, sickly smell from its anal glands that mimics the stench of decay. To a predator, this combination screams dead and diseased, something no hunter wants to touch. Coyotes, foxes, bobcats, even domestic dogs have been seen sniffing the limp body of an opossum, grimacing and walking away, convinced they've stumbled upon carrion instead of live prey. The opossum doesn't break character no matter what happens. Scientists have documented cases where opossums stayed in this trance-like state for minutes or even hours, heart rate slowed, muscles completely limp, sometimes even bleeding from a real injury, but continuing the act until they sensed absolute safety. The trick is so convincing that even humans have been fooled, thinking they found a dead opossum only for it to rise from the grave later and run off unharmed. This behavior, called thanatosis, is believed to be partly instinctive and partly a complex survival reflex triggered by extreme fear. It is incredibly risky. If a predator decides to eat the carcass anyway, the opossum has no defense left. But in most cases, this bluff is a lifesaver, sparing the animal from certain death. What makes this strategy brilliant is that it doesn't rely on claws, speed, venom, or strength. It rewrites the rules of the hunt. Predators expect a chase, a fight, a desperate escape. They don't expect their prey to simply die on the spot, emitting a disgusting odor that says, "I'm already rotten, leave me alone." This shock tactic confuses the natural order of predator and prey, turning the opossum from a target into unwanted trash in seconds. And when the danger finally passes, the little actor wakes from its death pose, shakes itself off, and scurries back to safety, having fooled death itself. Watching this performance in the wild is both eerie and brilliant, a reminder that survival isn't just about being stronger or faster. Sometimes it belongs to the clever, the deceptive, the ones who know how to trick their enemies so well that even nature's fiercest hunters walk away empty-mouthed. What would you do if your only way to survive was to turn yourself into something too big and too scary to swallow? For the pufferfish, this bizarre but brilliant strategy is its ticket to life in oceans full of predators. Normally, a pufferfish is a small, harmless-looking creature drifting close to coral reefs. But the moment danger approaches, it transforms. Its body has evolved an extraordinary defense mechanism. It gulps massive amounts of water or air, expanding to several times its normal size in just seconds. Suddenly, what looked like an easy meal becomes a spiky, unmanageable balloon. Many predators, startled or unable to bite down, give up immediately, and the pufferfish swims away alive. Some species take this defense further with sharp spines that pop out as the fish inflates, turning their soft, harmless-looking bodies into floating armored balls that can injure a predator's mouth. But size isn't their only trick. Pufferfish also carry one of the most potent natural toxins on Earth, tetrodotoxin, in their skin and organs. Even if a predator manages to grab them, it risks a deadly dose of poison that can paralyze or kill within minutes. This makes most attackers learn fast to never try a pufferfish twice. What makes this strategy so remarkable is how well-timed and controlled it is. Pufferfish don't stay inflated long. It's exhausting and risky for their bodies. But they do it with perfect timing, waiting until the last possible second when a predator lunges. Researchers observing wild pufferfish have seen them outsmarting larger hunters, hiding briefly, and then inflating in narrow spaces where they wedge themselves like a living barricade impossible to pull out. This combination of deception, size manipulation, and chemical warfare makes the pufferfish one of the most cunning survivors in the ocean. It doesn't fight back with teeth or speed, but with shock, surprise, and a body that says, "Try me and regret it forever." In a world where being small usually means being prey, the pufferfish has flipped the rules of survival, proving that sometimes the smartest escape is to become a nightmare. No predator wants to bite twice. Sharks are known as apex predators, rulers of the ocean that dominate their prey with speed and power, but one of their most extraordinary abilities has nothing to do with the hunt itself. It's what happens after. Certain species, like the Greenland shark and great white, can go weeks, months, and in extreme cases, close to a year without another proper meal. Their survival strategy is unlike anything humans could imagine. Sharks are built to burn energy slowly, their entire body designed for efficiency. A single large meal, a seal, a whale carcass, or even a massive school of fish can sustain them for astonishingly long periods. Their metabolism is so specialized that they digest food gradually, extracting every possible calorie, storing fat in their livers, and regulating how much energy they spend on swimming or hunting. Greenland sharks take this to an unimaginable level. Living in icy waters where food is scarce, they drift slowly through the dark, conserving energy so effectively that they can survive for months between hunts. These sharks grow incredibly slowly, live for centuries, some over 400 years old, and their endurance allows them to navigate a world where meals are rare luxuries. Great whites have been tracked swimming thousands of miles between feeding grounds, sometimes not eating for weeks, yet remaining perfectly capable of explosive bursts of speed when opportunity arises. Their muscles, fueled by stored energy, can unleash devastating attacks even after long periods of fasting. This ability isn't just about hunger tolerance. It's a survival adaptation that keeps sharks on top of the ocean food chain despite unpredictable prey availability. When a large kill is made, they gorge themselves, storing fats and oils in their liver, a nutrient-packed reserve that acts like a living energy bank, slowly fueling their body for the long wait ahead. Unlike land predators that hunt daily, sharks can simply vanish into the vastness of the ocean, gliding silently for weeks on end, burning almost nothing until the next chance comes. This patience and endurance have kept sharks alive for over 400 million years, surviving mass extinctions and dramatic changes to Earth's oceans. Their ability to endure long stretches without food makes them not just skilled hunters, but masters of survival in one of the harshest, most unpredictable environments on the planet. In the endless blue where prey can disappear, for days or months, the shark simply keeps going, unhurried, unbroken, a living example of how efficiency can be just as deadly as power. They say survival is about strength or speed, but these animals prove it's about something far more powerful: the ability to outlast the impossible. We've seen camels crossing burning deserts without a drop of water for weeks, crocodiles turning one meal into life for months, and snails sealing themselves away to sleep through years of drought. Sharks and snakes can feast once and disappear for entire seasons, while scorpions wait in stillness for a year on nothing but patience. Emperor penguins stand in brutal storms for 4 months without food. Frogs entomb themselves underground to wait out a dead earth, and spiders hide in silence for half a year, surviving on a single lucky hunt. Bears turn their own fat into fuel for 7 long months of hibernation. Tortoises carry their water inside. Sloths live in slow motion on almost nothing, and albatrosses cross oceans, surviving on hope and endurance. Each one reveals a truth about life we often forget. Survival isn't just about fighting or winning. It's about knowing how to last when the world gives you nothing at all, turning time, patience, and adaptation into the greatest superpowers nature ever created. We like to believe survival is a matter of willpower, but these animals prove it's something far greater. A delicate balance between biology, adaptation, and time itself. Their ability to endure weeks, months, even years without food or water reshapes what we think life needs to keep going. It shows that intelligence isn't only about thought, and strength isn't only about force. True power can be quiet, hidden in the ability to wait, to stretch a single drop of water, a single meal, into life itself. These creatures are living proof that nature doesn't follow human rules. It writes its own, turning emptiness into opportunity and scarcity into survival. They remind us that life can persist in places where everything says it shouldn't. That sometimes the greatest victory is simply staying alive when the world tries to erase you. In the end, these endurance champions challenge us to see survival not as a fight, but as an art. One perfected long before we ever learned to call ourselves resilient. We've just witnessed some of nature's toughest survivors, animals that can defy hunger, thirst, and time itself, proving that life finds a way even in the harshest, most impossible conditions. From deserts with no rain to frozen wastelands, from the depths of the oceans to the endless skies, these creatures have turned endurance into their ultimate weapon, rewriting everything we thought we knew about survival. If this video opened your eyes to just how incredible the natural world can be, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories that reveal nature's hidden power, and share this with someone who needs to see what true resilience looks like. Now it's your turn. Which of these animals impressed you the most? Which one would you never want to trade places with? And do you know of another champion of survival we should include next time? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because the world is full of untold stories of life pushing past the limits, and together we'll uncover them all.